Hi everyone, and thank you for joining January 2020's Stampin' Class by Mail. My name is Gina Wieselman of MySweetPaper.com, and I can't wait for you to make this month's cards using the Peaceful Poppies suite. I've teamed up with Brenda Cardinal, another Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, to offer these classes by mail, and we take turns designing and showing you how to make the cards. So this month it's Brenda's turn to show you everything you need to know, and next month it'll be my turn. Make sure to stick around to the end of the video to see some sneak peeks of the card designs for next month, as well as some bonus opportunities. Have fun making your cards, and here's Brenda.
Hi everyone, I'm Brenda Cardinal of StampinTulip.stampinup.net, and I'm really excited to show you how to stamp and assemble your Peaceful Poppy cards today. We'll be using the Painted Poppies stamp set, the Peaceful Poppies Designer Series paper, the Peaceful Poppies sequins, the 1/4 inch Whisper White crinkled seam binding ribbon, and a celebration set Sending You Thoughts. Please reach out to Gina or myself if you need any supplies, or if you'd like to chat about becoming a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Let's get started on our first card design. Our first card design is this pretty pool party poppy card. If you're taking the Stampin' class by mail, all your parts and pieces will be cut and packaged up for you as part of your kit. If you're not participating in the Stampin' class by mail, here is a still image of what you'll need to make this card. You can pause the video here to cut and prep all the materials you'll need for this card. This card features a watercoloring technique using blender pens. I use this word watercoloring loosely because we aren't using water, nor are we using watercolor paper. I use the word watercoloring whenever I'm going to color something and I might not stay inside the lines. The blender pen is essentially a marker with clear ink in it. And because it has clear ink, you can add whatever color ink you want to it. The blender pen comes in a set of 3. Some people like to use one at a time, and others choose to use one end of the marker for a particular color group. For example, one end will be red, one might be green, one might be yellow, another one might be blue. I'll show you what I mean as we get started coloring. All right, let's begin by stamping our flower greeting. I'm going to pull in a piece of basic black cardstock to lay my Whisper White cardstock on it so I can see right where I'd like to stamp my flower. I'll be using Memento ink, the Tuxedo Black today, and our poppy stamp. So I'm going to ink that up, and then I'm going to stamp that down kind of over to the left because we're going to put our greeting to the right. Okay, there we go. And we're stamp that ahead of time because we want to make sure the ink is really dry before we start the watering color technique. While the ink is drying on our flower, let's assemble our card. We'll start out by taking our pool party card base. We'll fold it in half. And with our bone folder, we'll make a nice crease. Then we'll add our inside piece. Now, if you had wanted to, you could have stamped and colored in the flower on the inside. We'll use snail to attach this piece to the inside of our card. We'll center that up and put some pressure on it so we get good adhesion. And then we'll do this layer right here. So we'll start by taking our Designer Series paper and our Poppy Parade cardstock, and let's put a little adhesive on the one side, and then we'll attach these. We just want a hint of the Poppy Parade peeking through. And then we'll take this and we'll attach it to our pool party cardstock, the smaller piece. And it looks like we have a little piece peeking down on the bottom here, so we'll just trim that off. And then we'll use dimensionals to attach that to the top of our card. And I think we'll put one in each corner, and we'll put a couple in the middle. Okay, we'll peel off the release paper. And then we'll attach this to the front of our card. There we go. Okay, let's color our flowers with our blender pen. There's a couple different ways you can get the ink to your blender pen. And one is a re-inker. Another one is you can flex the top of your stamp pad and then take the ink from the lid. But this is a fun trick you can also use. You could take a clear block and ink it up, and now you have a palette to work with. When using the blender pen, I like to have a little extra piece of Whisper White cardstock handy, and I'll show you why in just a second. But let me show you how to pick up the ink. So take your blender pen and grab a little ink, and then that's how you get your blender pen inked up. And notice when we start coloring, the color is very intense, and then as we color more, it gets lighter. So we're going to let our image dictate how we put the color down. The kind of center of the flower has a lot of black here, so that's where I'm going to start when I pick up color, and then I'm going to work it out to the petals, because I'm assuming that it's, as the light hits it, it's darker here, it's shaded here, and it's a little lighter on the edges. So let's pick up a little ink. I'm going to take a little bit off to start with, and then I'm going to start here. And then as the color kind of fades out, then it's going to be lighter on the edges. And it's always better to start by taking a little color out of your blender pen, because you can always add some, but you can't take it away once it's down. And let's do a little bud. Now we are coloring on thick Whisper White cardstock, which is a little better than the regular Whisper White cardstock. It won't peel back as much or as quickly when you're applying the color. So, and it's also recommended that if you are going to add more color, you don't want to get the paper too saturated. So let it dry a little bit, then come back and put a little bit more color in. Now, as I mentioned, some people like to use one blender pen at a time until it dries out, and then they'll switch to the next one. Or you can call this end red, and you could call the other end green if you wanted to. Or you can scribble this out until there's no color left. And now we can dip it into our green to do the stems. So let's move on to the Old Olive. That was Poppy Parade ink for the flower head, and then our Old Olive for our stems. So again, we'll create a color palette. We'll pick up a little color, and then we'll color our stems. Now see, we're watercoloring because we're not exactly in the lines. Okay, there we go. I'll clean this up so it's all ready to go the next time I want to use it. We'll attach our flowers to our basic black cardstock. And then we'll add some dimensionals to the back. And now when we put this down, we're going to create an equal border all the way around on the right side. All right, and there you go. Our next card is the Blackberry Bliss Poppies. here are the parts and pieces you'll need for this card. We're going to start by stamping our outside and our inside greeting. All right, let's start by stamping our inside greeting. And for our greetings, we'll be using the Blackberry Bliss color of ink. For placement for our greeting, we're going to lay our rich raspberry strip and our old olive strip down, and we're not going to adhere them to the cardstock, but we're just going to lay them for placement so we know where to stamp our greeting. So we'll ink that up and stamp it down. All right. We have already pre-cut a label for you from our painted labels dies. Now these are the dies that coordinate with the stamp set Painted Poppies, and they are bundled together. So if you buy them together, they are 10% less. So that's a great deal. And of course, it's always fun to be able to do some fun shapes like that. So, all right, let's ink that up and stamp that down. Now, one of the things I want to point out about this label is that it has, not only does it cut the shape, but it puts a nice little outline, embossed outline around the shape as well. So it gives it a little bit more depth and texture. And then that's all of our stamping for this card. So let's begin assembly. We'll start with our card base. And we'll use our bone folder again to make a nice crease on that. And then we'll add our designer series paper. So we'll use snail on that. And this one goes to the left. Put this down so I don't have any of the Blackberry Bliss card base peeking through. Okay, there we go. And then we'll add our rich raspberry strip next to that. So those two will meet together. Okay, and then we'll attach the narrow old olive. Now you can use snail, although it gets a little messy, or you can bring in your liquid glue and you can use your liquid glue. Now remember, this is liquid, so it will spread a lot, so you want to just use a little bit. And notice how I have mine in a little container here so that the glue is going to the tip, so I don't have to squeeze very hard when I go to apply that to my cardstock. And then we'll just bridge the two of those with the old olive. Make sure they're pretty straight. Okay, there we go. And then let's put our inside greeting in. Before we do that, we'll add our strips, our strips of cardstock to this piece as well. So I'm going to place this one so that I have the same border here as I do on the left side. And we cut these strips the same length for speed, so it'll be a little longer. You'll have to trim that off. Probably didn't need quite that much glue, did I? So I'm going to trim some off. And notice I didn't put them next to each other. I actually overlapped this one, the old olive one, on top of the rich raspberry, and that's so I don't have any gaps, and then I could see the white cardstock through the seam there. So we'll trim that off. With our paper snips. We will attach that again using our snail. And we'll center this up. Okay. Then we'll attach our outside greeting, and we'll use our dimensionals for that as well. Now your kit came with your sequins already attached to your glue dots, and I wanted to show you how we did that because we have kind of a neat tool that made this process really easy. So we have our glue dots here, okay, and then our Peaceful Poppy sequins, and these are really pretty. I wanted to show you that besides the circle sequins, there's also some that are flower shaped. Do you see that? They're so fun. But back to how we get the sequins attached to the glue dots. So expose a glue dot, and then we have this tool called Take Your Pick tool. Now on the one end is a paper piercer, and on the other end has this little blue tip, and it's a little bit of putty. And so when you pick up a sequin, see how easy that was? It's just tacky enough to pick that up, and then you can place it right where you want it to be. Neat, huh? Now the putty is located in the tip, and as this dries out, you just pinch it off and give it a slight twist, and another piece comes out. It's a great tool. It also has an attachment that you can get. It's a die brush attachment with pads to help you get your chads out of your complicated dies. All right, so then, because it's all ready to go, we can just grab and place them wherever you like. And there you are. And here's our last card, the Poppy Parade Poppy card. And here's the parts and pieces you'll need for this card. Now this is a fun fold card, and it has a belly band to hold the card closed. Let's start by stamping our flower. This stamp set has I don't know, it almost looks like a smudge stamp, but I call it a fill-in stamp because what you can do is to stamp it down in one color and then stamp the detail over the top, and then it colors it in for you. So let's see how that works. We'll take our long strip of Whisper White cardstock, and using the Poppy Parade ink, we will get that kind of fill-in stamp out, and we will ink it up and then stamp it down. Okay? And then you'll do that 3 times. So, because for the class, you'll be making 3 of these cards, so you'll stamp that 3 times. Now we're going to set that aside just for a minute because we want to make sure that ink is nice and dry before we stamp the detail, so the detail does not fade when stamping it down on top of that Poppy Parade color. Then let's stamp our inside greeting. We'll be using our Memento Tuxedo Black for that. Well, that's a little crooked. Good thing Stampin' Up! Makes our cardstock with 2 sides. Let's try that again. Better. Okay, so inside greeting. And we've pre-punched a Whisper White circle for you. This is 2 inch. And we'll stamp our happy birthday. Notice we want to stamp it towards the top and over to the left. All right, there we go. And now we want to stamp our leaves. So in your kit, we included a piece of Old Olive cardstock. We've also die cut for you 3 leaves. And again, those die cuts came from our Painted Labels dies that are bundled with the stamp set, okay? And we're giving you an option. You can mount your stamp on your clear block, ink your stamp up, and then you can eyeball it if you want to. You can ink it up and stamp 3 leaves here and fussy cut them. Or we wanted to show you kind of a fun technique using the Stamparatus. If you have it, if you don't, you might want to consider it. So here we go, Stamparatus. We're going to use our grid paper. This is an item that's sold separately. And we're going to hold it down with our magnet. Then we're going to take our stamp off our clear block. And we're going to just, it doesn't matter where we put it. We're going to put it someplace on our panel here. Before we ink up our stamp, I'm going to level the playing field and put a stamp case underneath this panel here so it's nice and flat. And then I'll ink up my stamp. Okay, and then I'm going to stamp it down. A little pressure there, and there it is. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece that we included in your kit and I'm going to put some snail on it. And then I'm going to lay it down like this. Center it all up, stick it down, and now that becomes my template that I can drop my leaves back into. I'll ink up my stamp again, and then I'll stamp it down, and look at that, perfect. So for the other 2 cards, I just repeat the whole process. I would lay a leaf in there, ink it up, and stamp it. So Stamparatus, super cool tool. All right, we almost have all of our stamping done. Now we want to put the detail on for our flower. So we'll ink that up, stamp that down, and there we go. Watercoloring made easy. So then we can fussy cut this, or if we had the dies and a die cutting machine, there is a die right there that you could use to cut that out. I'm going to cut this out, leaving just a little border. One of the tips when cutting is you don't want to move the scissors, you want to move the paper, and you get a much cleaner line when you do that. All right, we have all our parts and pieces. Let's assemble. Start out with our card base. And we'll start by putting our inside greeting in. Using our snail. Okay. And then we'll do our detail on the outside. So we'll attach our designer series paper. To our basic black cardstock, and we'll have a equal border all the way around, and then we will attach that to the front of our card. All right, and now let's make our belly band. We'll begin our belly band by taking our basic black strip of cardstock and folding it on the score lines. I like to fold it and then make sure I line up the edges so it's nice and straight, and then use my bone folder to put a little crease on that. Okay, like that. All right. Then I will take my tear and tape adhesive and I'll put a little bit on one end. Now you can use other types of adhesives if you want, but this is what this is designed for. And it's called tear and tape because you don't have to have a scissors. You can just tear it. And to make sure I have this so it doesn't end up being too tight, I'm going to lay my belly band around my card, pull the release tape, and then just lay it over the top of the left side of the strip and put a little pressure on it, and then we have our belly band. Okay. Now we'll take our greeting and we'll attach that to the basic black circle. That one was cut with a 2 1/4 inch punch. All right, now let's add our ribbon. So we'll just wrap it around, making sure it's straight around the back side, and we'll tie a half knot like you would if you were tying your shoe, okay? And you'll notice you'll have one tail above the horizontal line you created with ribbon and one below. Now, if your ribbon was a little shorter, we have plenty to work with here, but you would want to make sure that the ribbon that's above the horizontal line is longer than the one below it, because it has to do more work. It has to make a loop and it has to wrap around the second loop, okay? So to make a pretty bow, you want to grab the one that's below the horizontal line and you just want to push to create a loop, okay? And then you're going to hold that with your pointer finger and your thumb, and then you're going to take the ribbon above the horizontal line and you're going to lay it over the top, okay? So not this way, that'll be crooked every single time. So lay it over the top and hold it with your thumb, and then again push through. Now notice I'm not twisting ribbon at all. Okay, I'm trying to keep it as flat as possible. And then you just work the tails and the loops back and forth till you get the desired size that you want. All right? Simple, huh? Just takes a little practice. And then we'll trim our ends. Oops. That's the beauty of a video, right? You can just rewind it and watch it again. All right, so we have that off to the right side of our card. And then we're gonna add our circle. Now I think if I look, I think I want the bow to be just slightly more to the right. So I'm just gonna slide a little bit. Okay, so then we're gonna bring in our dimensionals, and just to kind of get a sense how wide that is, we'll lay that there and we'll put one dimensional up here and one dimensional here, and I think I'm gonna stick one over here and one over here. The ones on the left and right will kind of hold the ribbon in place, and then we'll take off the release paper and then I'm going to center it so I have the same distance between the top and where it meets the belly band, above the belly band, and that same distance below as well. And then center it left and right in this shape there. There we go. And then I will take my flower and I will add the leaf. And then I will take another dimensional. And I'll add that on. You can kind of put it wherever you'd like. And there you go. Now I chose to have my belly band low when I showed the sample, but you can actually put it wherever you'd like. If center makes more sense for you, you can put it right in the center. I've been having a lot of fun with the Peaceful Poppies suite of products. Let me show you what else I've been stamping. There's this card. This also features that watercolor technique that we used in our pool party card. Here's another sample. I used the dies that go with the suite, and then I used some of the flower sequins and some of the round sequins to add accents to this card. This paper makes a beautiful gift box and a really cute tag to go with that. I designed this box so the cards that we made with the envelopes can be tucked right inside there, and there's a gift all ready to go. So the box I designed, I did draw a little template for you so you can see how I did it. So my cardstock, or my designer series paper, was 12 by 8.5, and then I made horizontal score lines at 1 1/8, 7 1/4, and then I made vertical score lines in 4 5/8, 5 3/4, 10 3/8, and 11 1/2. Then I cut out this corner That's not necessary. And then I cut from the bottom edge to that first score line here, here, and here. Then I folded this, the top down, and that's where you got, because of the, it's two-sided, so that's where you got the decorative piece at the top. I use the bone folder to crease all the score lines, and then I use my tear and tape adhesive to put the box together. This suite of products also has something called Peaceful Poppy elements. First, let me show you what comes in the package. So you get 2 sheets of each of what I'm going to show you. This is some already pre-stamped, pre-cut images, and pre-colored, I should say. So you can just pop those out and use them. And then it comes with these basic black accents. So you're going to get 2 sheets of these. Then you get, I'm not sure if you can see this or not, but you get these vellum images that are all stamped and ready to go. And then you get these watercolor images, and what's hard to see is that they are already embossed in white. It's kind of hard to see here, but I'll show you some samples. As a matter of fact, the gift tag here, I watercolored that, and see how the white image pops through once you add color to it. So our vellum elements, I used my Stampin' blends and I colored on the back side. I added those to a similar card that we made today. I watercolored some leaves and also the flower. And then I used the die cut images to add accent to this card. So those are fun. This suite of products has 2 bundles to it. We use the Painted Poppies stamp set out of this bundle. It also has one called Peaceful Moments, and that's something new. Stampin' Up! Has actually had 2 bundles for a suite. So I did get the second one because I really love the greetings in there, and also the dies were stunning. So let me show you the card I created using that. And here it is. The colors here are Blackberry Bliss, Rich Razzleberry, Old Olive, Mossy Meadow, and this is Purple Posy. Coming February 4th, Stampin' Up! Is having a promotion called Coordination Products. And this is some additional products that coordinate with something that we already have, either in the January to June 2020 mini catalog or the celebration catalog. So the celebration stamps that we used for our class today, Sending You Thoughts, has some coordinating dies called Sending Flowers. And this was super fun. Here's the card I create. Now, this was similar to what they had as a sample, and I just made it my own. Thanks for participating in our Stampin' class by mail, and here's Gina with a few more things for you.
Thank you for demonstrating how to make those beautiful cards, Brenda. Make sure to follow the link in the email that shared this video with you to access the special Pinterest page that Brenda and I have curated to show you even more ways to use your supplies. Next month, it's my turn to design and share the cards with you, and I'm excited to share a sneak peek. We'll be using the Honeybee suite of Stampin' Up! Products from the January to June 2020 mini catalog, as well as the celebration catalog. One of our cards features a fun fold design, and we'll also be doing a coloring technique using Stampin' blends. From the suite, we'll be using the Honeybee stamp set, the Golden Honey Specialty Designer Series paper, which has some beautiful gold foil accents, the Daffodil Delight ruched ribbon, and we'll also be using the Daffodil Delight Stampin' blend. My designs include some elements from the Detailed Bee dies, and we'll be able to cut those out for you and include them with your kit. The guaranteed registration deadline for next month's class is February 5th, 2020, and if you sign up by January 27th, we'll also have a bonus for you in the form of 2 completed cards with envelopes that will ship along with your kit. Make sure to check your email from either Brenda or me, or reach out and get in touch with one of us if you're not on our email list to learn about a referral bonus opportunity as well. If you find new friends to participate in our Stampin' class by mail, you and your friends can earn some free items. Also, remember that it's Stampin' Up's celebration period right now, which means for every $50 you spend before shipping, handling, and tax, you get to select an item from the celebration catalog. That means now is the perfect time to get some new supplies, as well as stock up on things like adhesive and envelopes, or maybe even consider a prepaid Paper Pumpkin subscription. There are also bonuses for hosting a stamping event or joining the Stampin' Up team during celebration. Be sure to check it out and get in touch with Brenda or me if you have any questions. Please let us know if you have any feedback on our Stampin' class by mail, and happy stamping!